Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit-Down. I thought this 9P thing was going to be a great idea. And, you know, I know Ahsoka was trending last week. I didn't look to see if it was trending this week. But the overall numbers seem to be a bit down. So, I don't know. But, like, for me, I don't think it's working, man. I've become a morning person, not a nighttime person. And last week, I think, like I said, just kind of binging the end of Mandalorian and then going into the 2 eps. By the time that was done, I was shot. Last night comes around. I haven't been feeling good either for the last 2 days, so that didn't help anything. But like by the time 9 o'clock rolled around, I was like, I haven't been feeling good all day, and I am just too tired to record. So here we are, it's like 12 hours later now, awake, up. Sun is up technically, but it's a cloudy, rainy day here, and I'm like just now getting ready to dive into this. What am I talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are, of course, getting ready to take a watch and dive in, spoiler-filled, into Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 3, Part 3, and we'll obviously learn the title of Part 3 once the episode starts, because that seems to be where Disney Plus is even 12 hours after it's up. But I'm like, I can't get myself into a groove yet with the 9Ps. And like I said, not feeling well the last 2 days. I just, 9 o'clock came, I was like, it's sleepy time. And then I burned through my alarm clock this morning. I was going to try to get up early and get ahead of things, and none of that was working. So here we are, 9 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, getting ready to watch Ahsoka Part 3. And I'm excited, man, because what they did, and Filoni specifically as the writer here, did the last 2 episodes, or the first 2 episodes. I really love what he has set up for this show, from it being, something that obviously is Ahsoka driven, but, it is, and as it's been said, is kind of like Rebels Season 5 here, and you have a story that's being built, I think, in a way that both works for fans of Rebels, and talking to some friends of mine that have been watching the show, works for people who didn't watch Rebels. I think the methodical pacing the first 2 episodes and kind of taking your time to lay the foundation for everything really, really worked. And then things we kind of may have skipped by, right? Like I'm so bad when it comes to Easter eggs, like in moment, or picking up on things until like I'm editing and rewatching. One of which we're going to talk about that I'm still embarrassed by. But for me, the things from last week that really popped when I was editing and rewatching. One, that Ryder, I didn't realize that he was sending Jai Kell, who for Rebels fans, you know exactly who Jai is, and for non-Rebels fans, Jai was a student at the Imperial Academy that Ezra kind of goes undercover to get in and break out, along with a couple other Imperial defectors. So, like, in the rewatch, to realize that that was who Ryder sent after Sabine, knowing the relationship that Jai would have had with Ryder and with that group during Rebels, really makes that whole moment that much more touching. And then just the direct Rebels recreations, specifically Sabine cutting her hair. It was so reminiscent and almost shot for shot similar. Not like, because the finale of episode 2 is dead on. But like just the motions, right? Like the way she picks up the knife and the motions of cutting the hair, like when in my editing I lined it up with the Rebels episode, it's just like when Kanan cuts his. And what's cool is for both characters, while it feels more like, the Kanan cutting his hair is, him accepting his next step as well, I guess that's the same here. But it's like one of those things where for both of them, you're kind of shedding a version of yourself that hasn't been working and embracing the next step in your journey. For Kanan, it felt like something new. That's where I wanted to go. And for Sabine, it felt like something old, right? Her returning to what we know Sabine to be, with the short hair and, the Mandalorian armor being back on. But that whole bit, like the way that Filoni is able to use that moment to recall something that then can, in the same ways, be impactful for Sabine's character, I thought was really cool. And then, like I said, the finale of episode 2 is like shot for shot, almost 100% identical to the finale of Rebels, where Sabine is kind of wrapping up where everybody is, right? Like the whole thing for Rebels was really freeing Lothal. That's what the 4 seasons culminates to. But then afterwards, you kind of get like a little epilogue with Sabine where she tells you where everybody goes after they do, free Lothal. And for her, you see her coming back into that room, going to that mural, kind of like her saying goodbye. And when she turns, just like she does in this episode, there's Ahsoka with her ship getting ready to take off with her. And the reason that becomes so cool for me is that's something that Rebels alludes to, obviously, at the end, that like Sabine is going to go travel and train with Ahsoka. But then by the time we get to Ahsoka, that relationship has dissolved. So, yeah, it's round 2, but for us, we're going to get to live, hopefully, the best version of what that training could be like, and kind of see Ahsoka take Sabine under her wing as a Padawan. And that whole element of the story, I'm so excited for. One, I want to see the training, because I think that's going to be dope. But 2, like, it brings in where Ahsoka lies as a Jedi, right? Like, she, obviously, Filoni has, like, confirmed that she does identify herself as a Jedi with no specific Jedi order really around. She kind of just is more about what the Jedi have always represented, right? So, and that's the way that she's been living her life and assisting anywhere that she can in the galaxy. But to see this kind of going on, especially after spending time with Luke, and, it'll be interesting to see if, where that story goes once the Thrawn thing is done. But spending any time with Luke to now go back to Sabine, it'll be interesting to see how Ahsoka, is handling her walk as a Jedi, and to see if the show dives into any of that reconciliation and things that are going on for her, post return, that we don't necessarily 100% always see on screen. I just think it opens up some cool lanes, both for Ahsoka, which is like, it's one of these, like, I'm so in on the Rebels element, and that could be a turnoff for people maybe that haven't watched Rebels. But again, this is why I like how Filoni's kind of building things for people who haven't watched Rebels. But this kind of gives you the ability to continue the Rebels story and a big piece for Sabine, but also tee it up to be something that could really dive into some Ahsoka stuff, which is really, really exciting. And I'm just so pumped to watch all that unfold and start unfolding in this episode. The other thing, and this is the one that I'm embarrassed by, Huyang, I had no idea during Clone Wars when I watched that was David Tennant. Even in rewatches, I never put it together. It was just always Huyang. And then Huyang showing up here, sounding exactly like Huyang, I ain't put it together. I'm seeing David Tennant in the credits like, yo, man, where is David Tennant in these episodes? I ain't see him anywhere. He's the voice of Huyang. So, one, it's one of those things, much like Lars Mikkelsen. It's exciting to kind of see someone who breathed life into an animated character getting to the opportunity to breathe that life into the live-action character. It also puts Tennant in a fairly focal role. And just watching how they use Huyang, I thought was so freaking cool. And now, realizing that that's David Tennant makes it that much cooler for him, right? Like, the idea of utilizing him in ways where you don't know who Baylan is or who Shin is. He can analyze those lightsabers because he would have built like, if one of them was a Jedi previously, he would have built the lightsaber that Jedi is currently carrying. So to be able to utilize him to identify Baylan and then figure out that, like, Baylan is the Sith Lord in this setup and that's his apprentice. Just I thought was a really, really cool way to utilize him. And then one of these things where you don't necessarily know his relationship, right, with the Rebels crew. So to see him integrate in a way where, like, he is very familiar with that team in a way that's more than we would have ever seen before, to utilize him to kind of be the push for Sabine to get back on track when she's in the hospital and to stop feeling sorry for herself and really admit, like, did you ever say, like, to Ahsoka you wanted to try to go back to training or anything like that? Like, to kind of see him help guide that relationship back together, I just thought was a really sweet element. And then he's been pitch perfect for that classic Star Wars humor where, like, you need a beat or a moment to kind of cut the tension or have a laugh. he's been spot on with everything that they've given him. And like I said, I just think that Filoni has really teed this thing up in a way that the show has the ability to, I think, be as special as Star Wars and Rebels fans are hoping that this show is gonna be. And just watching again, like, how casting continues to just astound. I wasn't 100% sold on Mary Elizabeth Winstead after rewatching Rebels because of the motherly elements of Hera, and within seconds, her body language and just how she is approaching the character, you feel it perfectly. Natasha Liu Bordizzo, we've mentioned so many times, and again, being that this is going to be an episode that focuses on things that are going on with her and Ahsoka, she's a spot-on Sabine, and I can't wait to see her really step into the role as we move forward. But she was great in those first 2 episodes, and we obviously all know Rosario Dawson is phenomenal in the Ahsoka role. So I'm pumped, man. I think the cast so far has been great. The little side stories and things that we've gotten that feel very, Rebels and animated series driven. Watching how Filoni's weaving that style and brand, like I said last week, there were just moments where it's like I could feel the beats or moments in the show being, like, you could see it in an animated version if you'd watch those shows. It's been cool to see how he weaves those vibes into live action and really builds a live action show. So I don't want to waste any more time because I've been chatting more than enough about things from last week, and we've got this week sitting in front of us, and I'm way behind. So let's get the episode up for you guys, get myself situated here. Maybe we'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see my pretty face. Episode is up for you. I've got it here. I don't have to do the phone thing because I'm finally back home in Stamford, so my Bluetooth speakers work wonderfully. And yeah, I don't want to waste any more time, man. We got part 3 in front of us. Synopsis here: Hera tangles with New Republic politics. Something I'm totally down to watch Mary Elizabeth Winstead do here. And Ahsoka and Sabine voyage to a distant planet as they kind of start to chase down where Baylan and Shin are headed. So I'm stoked, man. I can't wait to see how this starts to kind of build us more into what this show is going to be and what it can do. I am a little nervous about 37 minutes. That's a bit of a kick in the balls, but I do think in watching, some of the shorter eps, I just edited the episode 4 from The Mandalorian Season 3, which is a fairly short ep, and they pull off a lot. And knowing that Filoni is familiar with that format, and the fact that you can get a lot done in a 30-minute episode if you do it right, I'm fascinated to see how this one plays. I did learn that Filoni only directed 2 episodes, so I'm assuming he directed the first and the last. So I'll be excited to see who is in the directing helms here. But yeah, let's waste no more time and dive in to part 3 of Ahsoka. And we're playing. We just talked about last week's 2 episodes. We're gonna get our recap right here. But yeah, obviously, talking about all the interpersonal things of the characters, what's really at hand is the droid that steals the map, gets it to Baylan and Morgan and Shin, and the fact that they've got to try to track it down and catch him. So one of the other things too that I heard was people saying Marrock, who's the Inquisitor that we see here, saying that could be Ezra. That doesn't make any sense. If Thrawn was already back in play, I think that maybe would make sense, but considering that that group, including Marrock, are looking for Thrawn in a lost place, you'd assume Ezra's got to be there. And love to see that chopper nail getting the tracker on the on the ship, so it's gonna allow them to track them to Zetos, which is where Ahsoka and Sabine are heading. I love that Hera too is the one that kind of asks Ahsoka to take her back, because it's something that I think Sabine needs. But Chopper, fantastic little psychopath. I love that the first things he said last week were in relation to shooting a ship down that would have crashed into a city, and Hera's like, we can't do that. And he's like, why not? These friggin' Rebels fans know he's a little war criminal, man, responsible for thousands of deaths, both directly and inadvertently. So to see that present was, I think, fun for me. And now I'm gonna shut up because Ahsoka's flying through. Yes. Oh, using Huyang for the training too. That's great. This is so cool. It's dude, this stuff we want, man. But makes so much sense for him to be with Ahsoka and to get to see him doing things that. But getting to see him utilized in ways that make sense for that character is exciting.
Enough to get by?
He looks so cool.
Huyang, let's try something else.
That's physical, right? Because that looks
I'm not certain Lady
practical.
Ren is ready for that.
Your skill with a weapon comes from your Mandalorian upbringing. Those skills alone will not be enough to defeat our enemy. Learning to wield the Force takes a deeper commitment. How? That's something you'll have to discover.
I discovered that according to Huyang, I'm the worst candidate to be a Jedi out of every Jedi he's ever known.
It's true, I forgot he said that.
It doesn't matter.
Let her understand the hill she's got to climb.
Here, put this on. You're joking.
Every Jedi wears the helmet at some point.
I can't see. How am I supposed to fight?
Feel
I want you to see with more than just your eyes.
damn straight. Oh, guys, everything I was hoping for right away.
Now what?
Be still. Listen to my voice. Do you know where I am?
Next to Huyang.
Are you sure?
Woo!
Very funny.
You'd be dead.
Not if I could see you.
Exactly. Now lower your visor and concentrate.
On Sabine, you've seen Kanan see without sight. Kanan, the Jedi that trained Ezra in Rebels, he gets blinded in season 3, I think.
Follow my voice. Sense my intention.
Okay, you see the baby steps for Sabine. She's eventually gonna block it. It's gotta be dope. But even this, playing into like things that we never got to see with like Luke and Leia, you could drop Ahsoka in there with Sabine. You know, something that I would love to see Sabine and Ezra kind of ride side by side, but the teaching elements, like this is, I don't, it's just, this is great. Yes. You're getting ahead of yourself. Right? It was just natural instinct on those. Just not necessarily feeling where Ahsoka is. I'm waiting for her to stop one that comes on the shoulder tap. Oof. Baby steps, man. Speed's not about baby steps, though.
Anger and frustration are quick to give power, but they also unbalance you.
Also, something fascinating with Sabine, her Mandalorian upbringing and background. Seeing that work within a Jedi is, again, something else that I think is very exciting. One other thing that I know some people have talked about, I saw on social media, Sabine getting hit with a saber, and yet like we're all like, oh man, friggin' Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon got hit and dead. One, different times, accessibility to things that could help heal that person, and also location. Qui-Gon's dead center. Sabine's off to the side. Just want to throw that in there. What do we got going on here? Oh.
The Chancellor?
She's waiting. There are several senators with her. One of them is
Hera's mission. Oh, she's still generaling.
Chancellor Mothma. Senators.
Hera, you look well. How's young Jason?
I was just about to say, there's a character that they didn't mention connected to Hera.
Causing trouble with Chopper? No.
Jason is her son with Kanan.
Forgive me, Madam Chancellor, but if we could just hear the General's report.
Which he's another one that could be force sensitive. So that's something else I'd love to see the show play with.
My investigation into the attack on the Vesper led me to the Santhe shipyards on Corellia, where I was attacked by Imperial loyalists still working for Morgan Elsbeth.
We have former Imperials working throughout every level of the New Republic government. All taken an oath of loyalty.
Long live the Empire doesn't sound like the kind of loyalty we're looking for.
Agreed.
It was my understanding that the offenders were arrested and the facility shut down pending further investigation.
Yes, but I believe their activity speaks to a larger operation.
It always does.
Involving Thrawn.
Dum 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 dum.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
The Outer Rim, man. That's where all the crazy stuff happens.
His allies are working on a way to find him.
You are certain of this?
If I could get approval to send a task force to the
Dude,
Genetic
she
system,
really-
I could find out.
General,
I gotta go find me.
isn't this just another
Oh, she's
attempt to
got
gain
enemies.
New Republic resources to aid in what has ultimately been your personal quest to find Ezra Bridger?
Ezra vanished while fighting Thrawn.
And that you conveniently use a threat of Thrawn's return to acquire those resources.
Dick.
That could be put to a more practical purpose, helping the people of our fledgling republic.
Were you ever in the war, Senator?
It's a great drop.
No.
What do you know?
Just sat back and waited to see who came out on top.
Real Hera move right there. Everything, man, from like her facial expressions to her butt, like, it's very good.
I see no enemy. The Imperial fleet is scattered and broken. They have no centralized command.
Unless Thrawn returns.
Make your point.
Thrawn is not your typical Imperial officer.
Genius. He is.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war, and that's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one.
Grand Admiral Thrawn is dead. That's my opinion that your friend Ezra Bridger heroically died with him.
You don't know that.
Allow me a moment to speak with my colleagues.
Mon Mothma would be the only one that understands. But I love that they dropped Jason. His name is a great name drop, and I hope we get to see Jason at some point. 'Cause yes, there he is! Speaking of...
Is it true Aunt Sabine is gonna be a Jedi?
Chopper.
Chopper told me. I want to be a Jedi.
I know you do, Jason.
I want to see Jason get trained to be a Jedi. That would, like, if you build me to a Rebel show that does that, as much as seeing Sabine and Ezra, seeing Ezra and Jason would be very cool. Those would be fun Master Padawan pairings.
I was hoping that the urgency of our situation could expedite my training a bit.
I'm afraid it doesn't work
Yep.
like that.
I know, I can't use the Force. I don't feel it. Not like you do.
Force resides in all living things. Even you.
This is also something fun to play with that I always liked about the
If
sequels.
that's true, then why doesn't everyone use it?
The idea
Talent
of
is a
playing with
factor.
regular people having a connection to the Force.
But training and focus are what truly defines someone's success.
Oh, dude, I love watching Ahsoka do Jedi things.
Not everyone can handle the type of discipline it takes to master the ways of the Force.
That's the difference.
Start small.
Yes, dude, this is so. And again, like Sabine's such a cool character.
Ahsoka, I'm going to give this my best.
Yeah, you are. Such a cool character to do this with, right? Because she has a training and a background that comes in war and fighting and being a warrior. And a lot of things and qualities that a Jedi has. She's been around Jedi, but to see her starting from, like, ground zero?
So, what do you think of our progress?
She's frustrated. Still a challenge for her.
You both knew this wouldn't be easy.
Well, what you said didn't.
I only spoke the truth. The Jedi Order would not have accepted her. She is not an acceptable candidate.
Classic.
Standards which were proven over a millennia.
And failed.
Historically, there have been very few Mandalorians who ever became a Jedi.
I don't need Sabine to be a Jedi. I need her to be herself.
I suppose you do come from a long line of non-traditional Jedi.
Facts.
That way, she fits right in.
Oh, God, dude. I mean, you should have known Filoni was going to give you all the things you wanted for this show to be.
The Force is in all of us.
Come on, just a little movement. Just give her that, like, bit to know that it's there. Yeah, dude, Bordizzo is crushing this.
Sabine, I've got Hera.
So, got you on the edge of your seat, man. I'm all in.
You win this round.
Oh, man. It's nailing it.
Hera, great. How far are you in the fleet?
Unfortunately, I won't be joining you for this one, and neither will the fleet.
What?
The Senate committee wouldn't approve the mission.
The Senate committee? What are you talking about?
But it's not up to me. I just followed the order.
Hera?
Huyang, what's happened?
We've entered the Denab system. All comm transmissions are being jammed.
Drop from hyperspace.
Another thing that I think this stretch really did quite well is really give you an idea of how long hyperspace journeys can be.
Why'd we drop out of hyperspace so far from the planet?
Standard Jedi mission protocol when approaching an unknown situation. In order to avoid enemy surveillance...
He's still doing this?
Programming.
It is programming.
My last scan indicates the transport was in orbit on the far side of the planet. However, there also seems to be a second object, something much larger.
A Star Destroyer?
Negative.
Unknown to Huyang. Oh no. Well, that didn't take very long. What are those? They feel like the propeller planes.
Tailgun, please. On it.
Tailgun, please. God, I love this. Ugh! This is that classic Star Wars stuff you live for.
So you got rid of my presets.
I never needed them.
So you say?
That's Sabine is a hardcore techie. She can fix just about anything. So like needing presets versus not needing presets, I love that. Oh god, this freaking. I don't like, but I'm also loving the Savannah Sakno character.
You're just a little rusty.
Come on, Sabine!
Huyang, anything yet?
On the object, no. However, I have several thoughts on your The way you're both acting, there won't be a later.
I love him, David Tennant. Crushing.
Sabine,
Tell me what you need.
move on my
There we
signal.
go.
Copy.
All right. Dive.
Better. Didn't work. Getting better.
Missed. I had them, but missed.
Don't worry about it. You'll get another chance. We got two.
There we go. Oh my god. There's so many. There's Marrock.
I'm gonna split them.
Ready?
Ready.
Yes! Let's go. I love this.
6, with me. They're forming up. Let's roll them.
Copy that. On my mark.
Tell me when.
Communication is everything.
Port now.
There goes 2 more.
Huyang, anything?
We should be able to make visual confirmation
Now. What is it? Oh god. Oh my god, is that...
To guess, I would say it is some sort of hyperspace ring.
I'd like to
Oh, okay, that's... Yeah, duh.
Morgan, they're entering your sector.
Yeah, that is exactly what you said it is.
I'm surprised you let them get this far. Stay clear. I shall deal with them. Prepare
What are you
turbo
gonna
lasers.
do, Morgan? Turbo lasers, that sounds bad. I didn't realize that this thing had guns.
Wait for my signal.
Fighters have broken off.
You better get up here.
Just keep the ship steady while I attempt to run my scan.
I have a feeling that this is kinda
Open
bad. Oh boy. Woo. Good thing Ahsoka's like a phenomenal pilot.
Manage the deflectors. Copy.
Oh my god!
How interesting. I would never have guessed
Get
that.
everything you need?
Not yet. If you can get a little closer.
I love Huyang. Woo! This is insanity.
Steady, steady. This is intolerable.
You wanted to.
This is intolerable. Oh, he's such a droid.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
Faster.
Scan complete.
Oh god, there are no more deflectors.
Destroyed.
Oh my god. Oh god. Oh no!
Leave him. I need you to run a full diagnostic. Prioritize, Sabine. We can't help Huyang if we're both dead. Now get on it.
This is not a great situation to be in. However, 2 military smarties in there. Just gotta gain your bearings.
I have eyes on them.
Ooh, I'm feeling a rivalry here between Shin and Morgan, and I like it.
What's working? Not much. Our backup kicked in, but we're dead in space. No hyperdrive, no cannons. We got incoming.
Work fast. I'm going out there.
Out there?
Going out there? Like, into space? What are you gonna do, Ahsoka? This is one of my favorite things about her being Anakin's Padawan. Out of the box thinking all the time.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Sabine fixing the ship, like, all of this feels so bad. It's freaking awesome. Yo, let's go. Ahsoka in a freaking spacesuit. Oh my god. Where is she going?
I see her.
Yeah, deflect. Oh, that was awesome. Come on. Ooh, let's go! Sabine's face! Yeah, hi.
Did you fix the ship yet?
Sabine thinking there's an explosion, like, oh no, what happened to Ahsoka?
I got it. Great. Now get me.
Now get me.
Get ready.
Yeah. Go, 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 go. Phew. That is freaking baller. Dude, this is... Ah!
Got any more?
Buckle up.
So much fun. If you told me that the show was just gonna be Ahsoka, Sabine, and Huyang, I'm here.
Tracking something up ahead.
Bunch more ships. No? Purgle! Oh! If Purgle are there, Ezra can't be far. Ah, dude, seeing them in live action close up is so cool! Like, we saw them obviously in Mando in the, you know, in Hyperdrive. But this is friggin' so cool. Also very reminiscent of the way they kind of work inside of clouds and stuff in one of the Rebels episodes. Oh, this is awesome. Dude, the score? Kevin Kiner, I love you. Oh man, I think Dave Filoni might make me cry before the end of this season. This is so beautiful. Yo! I don't get it twisted, man. I'm telling you, the Purgle know who the good guys are, or who's like friends with Ezra. I feel like this feels like Ezra. It can't just be random. You know? Where'd they go?
Where are they?
Yeah, that's a good question, Shin. through the bottom. Alright. Good work, Ahsoka.
That won't lose them for long.
Or Sabine, striving.
Better set us down.
Hey, there's Huyang.
Complete. Oh, took my battery back up a while to cycle, I suppose. What did I miss?
We almost died.
Multiple times.
Ah, yes. Standard operating procedure.
Rosario has that side look that Ahsoka shoots, and all the variations to it down so well. I'm just like, this is what I was talking about, where like you give Dave Filoni 30 minutes, he could do some phenomenal stuff.
Shut the power down.
I protest. I have a lot of work to do.
Standard Jedi protocol.
I suppose that's true.
Shutting down.
Poor Huyang. Flying right overhead.
Any sign of them? They must be hiding in the forest. Let's regroup.
It's a pretty big forest. Feels like it's the whole planet. I don't know how you get out of here.
Think we can chance it?
Thank you.
Are you alright?
Haven't seen those creatures since the day Ezra disappeared.
Yup. Feeling hopeful.
So it is a hyperspace ray.
Yes, but I have never seen one built on this scale before. Craft with these power levels and configuration would be capable of a hyperspace jump of astonishing speed and distance.
Huyang, could a ring like could jump to a neighboring galaxy?
Theoretically, the Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named Purgle.
Click, click. There it is.
Like the ones we just saw.
Yup.
Really? When?
Some of what you missed, Huyang. We are on the right path, baby. Thrawn and Ezra can't be far at this point.
The Jedi have taken refuge in the forest. Hunt them down.
Bro, even with this much screen time, Ray Stevenson, it's like the show's making his passing even more tragic because we're not gonna get any Balin after this. He feels like a Sith Lord I wanna spend time with. Just like his presence. You can obviously understand why they cast Rey. Steph Green again behind camera on this one. Well done. That was excellent. And very much like I said at the beginning, like when you have Dave Filoni, like at this point, Marvel has taught me, if I see like 30 minutes on an episode, be very worried. What Star Wars has taught me is while there have definitely been times, certainly in Mando and Boba and Obi, where these short episodes pop in and they don't... It's the combination of it, right? Like, being kind of a one-off story and pocketed and shorter that, like, you feel a little bit shortchanged. But I've always thought that because Filoni lived in that world of, like, 30-minute television episodes, that's his wheelhouse, right? Like, that's how he really knows how to work in and out of there. I think one of the cool things with him being involved with Favreau and watching all of these series is you can see Filoni kind of leveling himself up to do a movie. But I really do think that he thrives, especially on a writing side, inside the context of 25 minutes. And I think certainly with how I was feeling watching Mando Season 3, when the shorter episodes popped in, what do? They dialed into very specific elements of your story and made sure that you answered those questions, and then littered it with like things that put you on the edge of your seat or fun action, and that's exactly what this one does. I don't remember if the Purgle were... I'm not gonna lie to you, as much as I pay attention to the closing credits, I can't remember if the Purgle, like... Is this... I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the opening credits on each episode, because, like, I feel... Oh, no, I think this is what the end of it does. So maybe the Purgle were in there. I was gonna say, but maybe it is kind of mapping out the trajectory and where we're headed. Kind of like a Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones will always tell you, like, where you are. This maybe is, like, giving us more the direction. I just don't remember seeing the Purgle the first time I was watching those. Anyway, I totally got sidetracked. But yeah, inside the context of 30 minutes, like... I love that Filoni focused on and gave you even a little bit more than just giving you like something that's super laser focused. And this was something that felt very Rebels, right? Hera's B storyline, super small, but shows you where she has to kind of land, right? And this is something that she kind of had to deal with a little bit in Rebels too, where it's like, for so long in that show, before the rebellion really was off and running and they were kind of just doing their own thing, they went and did what they needed to do. Their missions always kind of took first. And as Hera got more involved in the rebellion, there were times where she couldn't do that. Now, the rebellion over, but being part of, you know, the new Senate and being an actual general, she has people she answers to, and sometimes she doesn't get to do her mission. So just even in that little small bit of story, you get something that's very, very connected to Hera, you know, something that character is familiar with, and allows the live action audience that's not familiar with that to see a little bit of the politics that Hera has always kind of had to weave through. The other thing, and I was literally just about to say it when, you know, they dropped Jason's name when she got there, but one of our, I guess it was Mon Mothma, right? She mentions that Jason is Hera's son. You never. It's one of those the most fascinating things with Rebels is her and Kanan's relationship. You never really see it in action at all, right? It's always like you're kind of dancing around, or you know this relationship is there, but because of what's happening, you can't like fully commit to it. And right toward the end of that story run, you kind of saw that happen for the two of them. And then at the end, we learn that Hera has a child, and Sabine just kind of, you know, wink wink while she's doing the epilogue, that we know who the father is. So clearly somewhere in the off screen during Rebels, there was a night in and around where we finally saw them kind of reigniting their relationship, where they must have, you know, consummated it, and Jason is the outcome. And Jason obviously would be the most obvious of the Rebels characters to be Force sensitive, because Kanan was a Jedi. So that was something where it was like, I didn't think about it, and then I was talking with my friend Britt, and we were kind of running through things. I was like, oh man, something I totally forgot about was like Jason. Like, where is he? You think we're gonna see him? You think they're gonna mention him? And right as I'm about to say, like, I'll be interested if they mention this other character that was connected to Hera. Boom, they dropped the Jason in there, and I love that Chopper. You know, again, this is where like just little tiny bit of story. You set up things where, like, as a fan, it's like, I love that Chopper is hanging with Jason. That makes the most sense, and that he would tell Jason like everything, right? Like he's so Chopper. So to know, like, oh, Sabine's training to be a Jedi, like, I want to be a Jedi. And it's one of those where I, you know, my head last week thinking about, like, oh man, if you built like Rebels live action where like Ezra and Sabine, because Ahsoka, you have to understand, Ahsoka, while she has very important things to do in Rebels, she's not a main roster character for Rebels. So the idea of, like, if this show was setting up a Rebels show, Sabine and Ezra could kind of, you know, and like very much that guy girl kind of thing that you could have had with Luke and Leia, that's something that would be cool to kind of see flesh out. However, if you go the route of just folding Ahsoka into the Rebels group, where now, no matter where those stories are taking place, she's just kind of sticking with the Rebels for a while and really committing to Sabine, then what you could be setting up is Ahsoka, Master, Sabine, Padawan, Ezra, Master, Jason, Padawan. And that would also be freaking super cool and fun to play with, man. I'm telling you, like, this group has everything that Star Wars fans, I think, want. And, like, it allows you to have these moments that are quintessential Star Wars, man. Like, that whole fight sequence and the chase sequence and building up and everything that was going on during that journey, I felt so quintessential Star Wars. But it didn't necessarily feel like it was a saga movie, right? And this is where the success for Star Wars out of the saga movies is going to be able to find that lane where you can carve out your own path, but you constantly are always feeling the presence of where Star Wars comes into these things. And you're just, like I said, like, you're watching Filoni lay these seeds where it's like, yeah, you know what? get me a Rebels live action show, and there's so many cool stories and places you could go with these characters that could invoke or give you instances or nods to things that have been done in the books or in the comics, or just come from the movies and the other shows. Like, you could build so much stuff that feels so Star Wars, but it's something different out of this group. And you can see how Filoni's laying the seeds for things that could be really, really fun to watch. But I love that just in that little bit of time that we get with Hera, we're able to pull all of those things out of there. And then you allow the rest of that episode to be laser focused on Ahsoka and Sabine, and you give people exactly what they're hoping for coming out of episode 2. Oh man, she said Padawan. That means they're going to be training. What do we open on? Sabine training while they're in hyperspace. I love, like I said, utilizing Huyang to help with the training. Like, that's literally what that droid is programmed for. So getting to see him utilized that way in live action is fantastic. Then getting to see Ahsoka do the old, put the helmet on so you can't see, and we're going to play. Classic Star Wars, but different flavor. And watching how, again, such an important element to Sabine's character is that she's a Mandalorian, which means she already has training. She knows how to be a warrior. She is phenomenal in the field. She's wielded the Darksaber for a very small period of time. Like, there are just things that instinctually she will understand and know. Like, as Ahsoka's walking around, you know, you give the touch, she kicks back into the training. She knows the movements and where to be. And those movements, when presented, she can just respond to what you need to respond to because of the training. It's all instinctual. And there are moments in that where you're like, oh man, maybe she's starting to feel the Force. And you realize as you're watching it, she's not feeling the Force anywhere. All of her reactions are instinctual to the warrior that she is. And it's what would make, while Huyang mentions, there weren't very many Mandalorians that could be Jedi, because I think a lot about the Mandalorian way, and something that we've learned a lot more with the Mandalorian series, you really see now, you're really starting to see what Filoni and Favreau were planning from jump, you know, what they were building to, which is why I think we're in such great hands with the two of them, because you can see the long picture, which is what we've never really gotten with Kathleen Kennedy and JJ and the sequel movies. There was no sight, you know, and I feel like there is one here. But, you know, seeing her just be able to kick into the instincts, but no, and playing with that, I think The Last Jedi for me is the best in that 3. I know lots of people who don't feel that way, and I understand your gripes with it, but the one thing that movie, out of all the sequel movies, played with, that I was like, that's where we need to go, is the idea of people who aren't extremely Force sensitive, or, you know, people that are on the radar of being Force sensitive. Like, the Force is in everybody, and if you can tap into it, anybody can wield the Force. And that was something that I thought Last Jedi was starting to build to, that they completely ignored in, you know, Rise of Skywalker, that this can now tap into with Sabine, right? Where it's like, here's this person who has no connection with the Force, but the Force is in there. You just have to find it. And the training can get you to be there. And I loved, like, Bordizzo is so spot on, man. Like, when she did it and she, like, peeked with her eyes, like, you could see the cartoon character doing that. When she said to the cup, you win this round, like, that was just so classic Sabine. But to give all that training and Jedi vibes and what that means to Sabine, and the fact that, like Huyang said, she would have never qualified to be in the Jedi school. Like, she would be the worst of the worst candidates. However, when Ahsoka's talking to him, considering that, like, Ahsoka isn't a standard Jedi, coming from Anakin, who was not a standard Jedi, and even Obi-Wan, as traditional as Obi-Wan was, that idea of family and that connection and that brotherhood that he has with Anakin, that's a connection that I don't think you'd really want to have happen with Jedi, right? Like, there was a love there that was stronger. Obi-Wan had relationships, or flirted with having relationships after being a Jedi. You know, you come from that stage where, like, the Jedi that come from this school, they got a little bit of a different vibe. And in that regard, Sabine would fit that motley crew quite well. And then, like, establish, like, hey, we know where we're traveling to. We're going after Morgan. Bring back in the hyperspace, like, portal thing that she's building. And tapping into that, like, all of a sudden, it's like you build into the stuff that you want, boom, hey, here's the things, though, that are applying directly to this story. And then that stretch, like, Steph Green doing that whole Purgle bit, oh my good God, dude. That was, like, it's one of those things where it's like, we saw them in hyperspace in Mandalorian, but, you know, they're kind of shadowy in that sense. They almost kind of felt more like the animated characters. Getting to see them full-fledged, like, in your face, and giving us a sequence that's reminiscent of a moment where Ezra, who has a connection to the Purgle, is kind of like in the scenario where the Purgle are coming in and kind of helping out. And it almost feels like a degree like the Purgle were kind of aware that, like, it's Ahsoka and Sabine. Like, I'm so fascinated. That's another thing I'd love to see this show play with if we get to Ezra, is his connection to the Purgle. But that's one of those things where these space whales can tap into hyperspace and they can go out, gone, you know. They very much like a hyperdrive. It's just built into their DNA. And that's what happens. They take Thrawn and Ezra and hyperjump somewhere, and we don't know where. So having that ring be something that could jump to galaxies in hyperlanes that these Purgle would travel down. It's all, I hope we are getting close to Ezra and Thrawn, man. Like, I don't want this to be one of these things where it's like we gotta wait the whole season to get to the two of them. And I felt like this episode felt like we were really starting to get close. Like, the presence of the Purgle being there, like Sabine said, like, the last time I saw those creatures, Ezra. And we've always, in the animated show, seen Ezra have this connection to those creatures. And how that all plays into the stuff that's going on with Thrawn. Like, I hope that maybe next week we get that, like, oh, here they are, and then maybe we do some backstory telling. Like, that would be cool. That could be I could also see that be, like, the third to last episode be, like, where we introduce Thrawn, and then, like, that second to last episode could be maybe the Thrawn-Ezra story, and then jump into whatever's setting up next. Who knows? Either way, we're starting to get close, and we're seeing things that, like I said, like, as a fan, I was legitimately just... you saw it. I was smiling ear to ear most of that episode, man, because if you're going to give me something that's a little bit shorter, that's how you do shorter television, man. You find small threads, you lay them in for things that are going to play deeper in, and then you really dive into just one single thread and flesh out some stuff in that. And seeing the Rosario and Dawson and Natasha Liu Bordizzo relationship, it's one of those things where, like, that would be, like, if I ever was talking to those two, it would be like, how much time did you guys spend offset or getting to know each other? Because that relationship, man, like, it feels like something's been cultivated there. And watching their interactions, like, they feel like two people who were tight, fell out, and now are kind of finding their way back to each other. That was the thing I loved about that whole space sequence, where, like, Sabine is just, nothing is working, and Huyang's like, I mean, the way the two are, you two are working together, we're all gonna die. You know, and you end up getting to a place where it's like, okay, hey, Sabine, what do you need me to do? And watching that teamwork and stuff, it was just, So, yeah, for a 37-minute, that including the credits, really, really strong. Like, if you're gonna go shorter episode, I think that was very, very strong. Get the Sea Maniacs up, like I said. Laid things in that can, one, play into the bigger universe, as well as more storytelling for this season of television, and storytelling that could go past this season of television with these characters. You know, Hera's storyline, just tapping into all those quick little bits that, like, if you know this character, these are things that really pop. But if you don't know this character, you're now understanding other things about this character that people are also familiar with already. And just diving into the Sabine and Ahsoka stuff, from the training to working together to being in the field to finding the next piece of the puzzle to whatever's going on with Baylan and Morgan and Shin and Ezra and Thrawn. And you know, I'll be interested to see how they're going to get off this planet. And hearing Baylan say, like, they're hiding in the forest, go find them. I was just like, that feels so freaking classic Star Wars. Like, yeah, man, you're in the forest. We're gonna have freaking lightsabers and stuff. I think next episode could be another one of those, like, really great choreographed action type episodes. I just think everything you're setting up here is great. When you're focused in certain lanes, you know, you get great stuff from Rosario, you get great stuff from Bordizzo. Phenomenal stuff from David Tennant's Huyang performance. Everything that's going on there, I just think, has been spectacular. And everything with him in this episode was just perfect. And then you get like just a moment with Morgan, and you really get a lot of vibes. You get a bunch of more moments with Shin where you're starting to understand her a little bit more, and where she falls into like being the apprentice and seeing her kind of do things we would see Ahsoka or Anakin do, where like, yeah, okay, you're the apprentice, you go off, you're out in space doing like war type things, you're really good at that stuff, you're leading a squadron, and then we come back and we see Baylan right at the end, and you just get this vibe of like the most sinister of everybody that's there, but also the most level-headed. Like there's almost like a sinister Darth Vader vibe, but the calm, cool collectedness that's absolutely terrifying that you get from Thrawn going on with Baylan. And I really hope we get to see Ray Stevenson sink his teeth into the character a little bit more. And just, this is it, right? The only screen time that we'll get with Ray Stevenson as Baylan is here, and I love that he is crushing in the moments that he is given, even if they're small. But like, I really hope we get to see, like, I'd like to see him front and center all of next episode. That would be great. But all that stuff is really, really working. The dynamic between Sabine and Ahsoka and Huyang is something I love seeing at play. Made the episode so enjoyable, but also taps into things that are serious, and just the way they weave and navigate that stuff was just wonderful. And Kevin Kiner's score just continues to just be perfection, which is no surprise when you're talking about the guy who has always scored these characters. So yeah, I mean, I think Dave Filoni has got something special on his hands here. I felt that way the minute that Ahsoka got announced as a character, which meant you knew he was going to build to it. The fact that he's brought the Rebel characters in here, like, this is something that I think is being built. Like I said, talking to a couple of my friends who watched the first 2 episodes, they loved it. I think they're gonna love this episode. I think this is something that is appealing. It's again, it's that combination of like the grounded storytelling for the universe stuff that we got in Andor, but it is filling it with all of the Mandalorian action and things that we didn't get a ton of in Andor. So it's like you're taking the best of both of those worlds that Favreau and Filoni have played in so far, like the Andor side of things and the Mandalorian side of things, and they're coming together in to this point what I think is the best thing we've gotten on Disney Plus, maybe. Like, this is like Mandalorian level good, and if you know Filoni and you know these characters, I think it's maybe even a step above. And that's not shocking because these are his characters, but all of that stuff is really clicking, and what you're seeing built here is just very, very exciting. I hope we get a longer episode next week, but here I didn't feel the shorter episode really impacted anything in my enjoyment level. I'm gonna bump it up a tick. I enjoyed this episode so much, and seeing how the threads and things that they're setting up, 4.5 out of 5 for the C man right here. I really, really enjoyed this. This was a fun episode, and this is what, like I said, I want to see out of smaller, shorter episodes, is like the opportunity to go, hey, you know what? We know that we have a shorter episode here. Let's stay laser focused. Let's hit the things we need to hit story-wise, and then litter it with stuff that's a lot of fun, that makes the episode feel like you packed a lot in there, but it's not overcrowded. Everything was working really well. I think this is excellent. Apply that to a longer episode that actually gets us into Thrawn and Ezra things a little bit more. We might be seeing 5 start fly out over here, but I'm loving Ahsoka 3 episodes in. The question is, what about you, man? What did you think of this week's episode of Ahsoka? First and foremost, are you a Rebels fan? If you are, what about this episode was standing out, popping to you? What things are you familiar with in how Filoni tells stories? Did you see applied here, for me, at an expert level for live action? Do you think the meshing of that is working the best here, maybe out of any of the things that we've seen in the Star Wars universe, or just Disney Plus, you know, Marvel Star Wars things? Like the philosophies that we see kind of applied, I don't think always work in certain realms, but maybe they work a little bit better over here because you have people who are very, very good at those types of runtimes. So what things are working there? What about the Sabine and Ahsoka stuff is hitting for you? Huyang, where we were. If you're not a Rebels fan, but those first 2 episodes got you in, what does this episode do for you? Did you feel like you got shortchanged at all? Was this packed? Was it too much? Did you feel like you're understanding these stories? Are you gravitating more towards these characters? Is this an episode that pulled you in a little bit more? Anything you guys got, really, man. Good, bad, indifferent on Ahsoka. Episode 3, Part 3. You know, now that I'm sitting here, I don't think I noticed what the actual episode title was this week. Time to Fly. There it is. Good thing to have IMDb up on the screen of my computer. Holy crow, man. It's time for me to stop talking. But yeah, everything that you got on Ahsoka, Episode 3, Part 3, Time to Fly, put it down below in the comments section. I look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man, anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions, you want to be here for all the Ahsoka coverage that we have this season. You want to see as I start to post some of my Mandalorian Season 3 coverage that we never got to. I've got 2 edited already, so those are definitely coming. You want to be here for all this Star Wars-y things we got going on. You want to be here for trailers, other movie things that we haven't talked about yet. You just love the vibe. You want to show a little love and support. Come join C-Maniac Nation. Super easy. Just jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Mans, Cinema Sit Down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Not thumbs up. Peace. Peace. Oh, you guys are still here. You snuck up on me. You must be looking for more of this guy. Well, I got 2 video options for you, man. Right up here and right over here. And if you want all those C-Man goodies, well, hey, come join the squad right on over there, and I'll catch you on the next one.